Welcome to Get Real with JB, the podcast where we strip away the filters, the fluff, and the fake positivity to talk about what life really feels like behind the scenes. Just honest conversations about the moments that break us, shape us, and sometimes leave us quietly standing in the wreckage, wondering what just happened. In today's episode, we will dive deep into a story that's becoming all too familiar in the world of tech. It's about Raghav, an experienced IT engineer who played by the rules, stayed loyal, paid his dues, and still found himself laid off in a wave of corporate downsizing. This isn't a tale of bouncing back or building a unicorn startup. This is a raw, human story of what it really means to lose your job, and with it, your identity, your rhythm, your sense of safety. So, if you have ever felt like the ground disappeared beneath your feet, or you are living with the quiet fear that it could, this episode is for you. Let's get real. A small disclaimer: to protect the identities of those involved, the names in the story have been changed, but the emotions and experiences shared are 100% real. Raghav had never imagined himself as the kind of person who would one day be without work. He had been in the IT industry for over 15 years, quietly climbing the ladder, ticking off milestones that felt ordinary yet essential. A bachelor's in computer science, a first job through campus placements, a rented apartment, then a home loan, then a quiet wedding that didn't last, and later, the responsibility of caring for his aging parents. His job wasn't glamorous. He wasn't working at a unicorn startup or heading product design at a multinational. He was a senior back-end engineer in a mid-sized software company in Bangalore, handling enterprise systems that nobody noticed unless they stopped working. And he liked it that way. He liked the routine, the predictability of waking up at 6:30, sipping chai while checking emails, reaching the office by 9:30, completing Jira tickets, attending sprint meetings, and heading home to his parents by 7. He didn't see himself as ambitious. He was dependable, the kind of employee managers described as quietly reliable. Until one day, that reliability no longer mattered. The layoff came without warning. It was just another workday, with a status update call at 10, some pending documentation, and a code review scheduled post-lunch. Then came the calendar invite titled Business Update. Inside that short meeting were a handful of unfamiliar faces from HR and finance, along with a line manager who looked more uncomfortable than surprised. They spoke in polite, practiced phrases: cost optimization, strategic alignment, organizational restructuring, redundancy. Raghav didn't say anything. He nodded, waited, and logged off. By evening, his office email access was revoked. In short, he was losing his job. A final automated message arrived with the severance details and Cobra benefits he didn't fully understand. His laptop was to be picked up by courier in 3 days. That was it. 8 years reduced to a few paragraphs. He sat at his desk long after the laptop shut down, staring at the blank screen, unwilling to get up. Not because he didn't know what to do next, but because he couldn't believe this was happening to him. There had been whispers of downsizing in the industry. Startups were collapsing, funding was drying up, even tech giants were trimming teams. But Raghav had believed he was safe. He had been here too long. He handled legacy systems no one else understood. He had helped onboard half the current team. Apparently, that wasn't enough. At first, he didn't tell his parents. They were both in their late 60s. His father was diabetic and had recently started dialysis. His mother, frail but active, had enough on her plate managing his appointments, prescriptions, and mood swings. Raghav couldn't bring himself to add more to their burden, so he pretended to work from home for a few days. He opened his personal laptop at 9 a.m., sat at his desk like before, and refreshed job sites every few minutes. LinkedIn, Naukri, Indeed, he was on all of them, sending out resumes, tweaking cover letters, checking startup directories. He wrote lines like seasoned backend specialist with over a decade of experience in scalable architecture. But nothing felt convincing, not even to himself. By week 2, panic began to set in. The severance would cover 3 months on paper, but it wasn't just about daily expenses. There was a 38,000 monthly home loan EMI, a 7,000 car EMI, credit card bills, medical costs, and the quiet, unacknowledged expenses of running a house. Groceries, utilities, gas. His money had been committed long before it stopped coming in. He broke a fixed deposit by the end of the first month. Job interviews began trickling in, but they were different now. There was a sharp edge to them. Too many applicants, too many overqualified candidates fighting for mid-level roles. Interviewers were younger, brisk, distracted. They asked about gaps, about cultural fit, about whether Raghav had experience with newer stacks like serverless functions. He did, but he hadn't worked hands-on recently. He knew the concepts, had reviewed PRs, but it wasn't enough. Everyone wanted someone who could hit the ground running. No one wanted someone who had spent years working on systems built on tech considered outdated last quarter. Meanwhile, Raghav started freelancing. Small gigs he found through ex-colleagues or Reddit threads. A WordPress fix here, a script automation there. He was lucky to get some work, but it was all low-paying, irregular, and frustrating. Most clients wanted everything and barely paid enough for the time he invested. Still, it helped delay the drain, helped keep the lights on. By the third month, things got worse. He told his parents the truth when he could no longer hide the tension. He didn't have to say much. They could see it. His face was tighter, his appetite gone, his room filled with post-it notes and job lists. His father didn't say anything, just nodded and looked away. His mother tried to reassure him silently by making his favorite meals, offering him tea without being asked, walking a little slower to make sure he wasn't overwhelmed by her needs. But that only made it harder. The home loan EMIs were overdue by mid-month. He started receiving reminders from the bank, first polite, then firm. He negotiated, requested deferments, offered partial payments, but he knew that the bank had heard it all before. He wasn't unique, just another name on a growing list of defaulters. Socially, the silence became deafening. Friends he'd worked with stopped calling. Group chats dried up. Everyone was cautious. No one wanted to be reminded of how fragile the system was. Some forwarded job links, some sent generic motivational quotes. Most said nothing. No one wanted to deal with the discomfort of watching someone unravel. Raghav began avoiding calls, even family. He didn't have answers. He didn't know how to explain what it felt like to wake up every morning knowing you were falling behind in a race you didn't know you had entered. He wasn't lazy. He wasn't inexperienced, but he had become irrelevant in a market that rewarded speed over depth, buzzwords over consistency. He stopped shaving. His sleep became erratic. Some days he would stay up till dawn, endlessly scrolling through blogs on mid-career layoffs, reading Reddit posts from other tech workers in the same boat. Many were younger. Some bounced back, some disappeared. Some confessed they had moved back with their parents, unable to afford rent. One day, he spent 2 hours calculating how long he could delay selling the house. He'd spent years paying for it, believing it was his safety. But now it felt like a trap, a commitment he could no longer meet, a physical reminder of the life he thought he had built. There were moments when he imagined leaving everything, just vanishing, starting over in a smaller city, becoming a teacher, running a bookstore. But these were just thoughts, not plans. He couldn't afford to be that romantic. He had responsibilities, real ones. A sick father, a house, loans and credit cards. He thought about switching careers, product management, DevOps, teaching, but every transition needed time learning, certifications, none of which were free. And he didn't have the luxury of exploration. He needed a job, any job. 9 months passed. He was still unemployed full-time. The freelance projects kept him afloat, but barely. The car was sold. The health insurance lapsed. He skipped his own dental treatment to afford his father's monthly injections. He started rationing internet use and cut down on streaming service subscriptions. Groceries were reduced to essentials, rice, dal, vegetables on discount. He often wondered what had gone wrong. He hadn't taken reckless risks. He hadn't spent wildly. He hadn't chased titles or startups. He had just trusted the system, played safe, believed that loyalty, skill, and time would earn him security. But the tech industry had changed. It wasn't personal, it was just numbers, budgets, margins, investors, stakeholder expectations. He wasn't the only one. Thousands like him were pushed out, replaced by cheaper talent or AI tools, or simply erased in cost optimization plans. Raghav kept trying every day. He attended webinars, wrote his resume for the 100th time, rewired his skills just enough to stay in the race. But the future no longer looked like something he could plan. It had become a place to survive. He wasn't bitter, not exactly, but something inside him had shifted. A quiet knowledge that no job, no company, no system was built to protect people like him. That all his years of doing the right thing didn't matter in a world where the metrics changed overnight. He didn't feel like a victim. He felt just tired. And while he hadn't lost everything in the way people usually mean it, he still had a roof, still had family, still had some work, but he had lost something else. A belief, a certain faith in stability, in progress, in fairness. And perhaps that loss was harder to recover from than anything else. Sometimes a story hits you harder than you expect, not because it's shocking or tragic or filled with dramatic twists, but because it's so painfully familiar. Raghav's story is not a headline. It's not going viral on LinkedIn. It's not going to get a standing ovation at a startup event. But it's real, and it's happening to far too many people. Raghav is not a cautionary tale. He's not someone who made a mistake or gambled with his career or failed to adapt. He did everything right, or at least everything we were told was right. Study hard, get into a decent college, land a stable job, be loyal, pay your loans, support your family, don't complain, and in return, you'll be safe. Except he wasn't, and neither are we. Let's start with something basic. Job security is a myth. We grew up watching our parents spend decades in one job, slowly climbing the ranks, retiring with some savings and a pension. We were told the same formula would work, but the game changed and no one updated the rule book. What replaced it was this fast-moving, ruthless, data-driven corporate machine that rewards speed, scale, and cost cutting. You are not a person in that system. You are a resource, a line item in a spreadsheet. And the moment your cost doesn't justify your perceived value, you are gone. What struck me about Raghav's story wasn't just the layoff. It was how quietly it happened. No drama, no confrontation. Just a calendar invite, a few rehearsed lines, and silence. This is the new normal. It's how companies wash their hands of responsibility. They say cost optimization like it's a surgical term, when really it's just cutting people loose. They talk about restructuring while people like Raghav sit alone in the rooms staring at a laptop that no longer connects to anything. And you know what? It's not just the job they take. They take your rhythm, your purpose, your dignity. Let's talk about dignity. For 8 years, Raghav showed up on time, did his work, didn't chase promotions or switch jobs every year for more money. He believed in consistency, and in the end, that counted for nothing. Because today, being consistent doesn't get rewarded. Reinvention does. You are expected to constantly upgrade, reskill, cross-skill, network, brand yourself, and always be ready to pivot. You can't just be anymore. You have to market yourself. But Raghav wasn't a marketer. He was a builder, a problem solver, the guy who kept systems running when everyone else moved on to shinier projects. But guess what? Systems don't tweet. They don't get likes. They don't show up in portfolios. So he became invisible even to the people he helped train. The other thing that broke me was how isolated he became. How quickly the world moved on when he fell behind. Friends stopped calling, not because they didn't care, but because they didn't know what to say. They didn't know how to hold space for discomfort. They were scared it might happen to them. That loneliness is heavy, crushing even, especially when you are still pretending to be okay for your parents, for society, for your own ego. Because let's be honest, our culture doesn't know how to treat unemployed men, especially not men in their late 30s or 40s. If you are young and jobless, you are just figuring things out. But if you are older and jobless, people assume you have failed, that you weren't smart enough, sharp enough, lucky enough. But here's the truth. Raghav didn't fail. The system did. We built this whole illusion around stability. Home loans, EMIs, health insurance, aging parents, future plans. And all of it rests on a single fragile foundation of having a job. When that vanishes, it's like watching the scaffolding of your entire life collapse in slow motion. It's not just about money. It's about identity, about waking up and not knowing who you are anymore. Are you still a provider, a responsible son, a skilled engineer? Or are you just another layoff story? The financial side is brutal, yes, but the emotional toll, that's what people don't talk about enough. The shame, the confusion, the paralysis. You start questioning everything, your choices, your worth, your future. You lie awake doing mental math about EMIs, withdrawals, and how long before you have to sell something, your car, your house, or your self-respect. And in all this, there's no manual, no safety net, no one calling to check you if you are okay. The same HR that let you go with a smile won't return your email next week. The same people who used to depend on you at work have already moved on. So what do you do? How do you keep going? The truth is, there's no grand answer. Some people hustle harder. Some pivot to consulting or startups. Some take whatever comes their way. And some, like Raghav, just survive. Day by day, not chasing a comeback, just trying to stay afloat. And I think that's something we need to acknowledge more. Not everyone bounces back quickly. Not everyone finds a silver lining. Sometimes the story doesn't end with, and then he started a company and became a millionaire. Sometimes it ends with the person still figuring it out, still looking, still hoping. And that doesn't make them any less worthy of empathy. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to feel angry, to grieve, to turn every setback into a comeback story. That's the pressure of toxic positivity. This idea that every failure must lead to growth. No, sometimes failure just hurts and we need to be allowed to sit with that. I also think we as a society need to seriously rethink how we define success and security. Because if a man like Raghav, with all his experience, discipline, and care, can lose everything in one email, then maybe the problem isn't him, maybe it's us. Maybe it's the system that equates value with velocity, loyalty with naivety, and stability with stagnation. We are told to hustle, to never stop learning, to stay relevant. But relevant to whom? At what cost? And there's something deeply broken about the world where people can give years of their life to a company only to be treated as disposable, where your performance doesn't matter as much as your cost to company ratio, where you are told to take ownership of projects but aren't even given the courtesy of a human exit. Raghav's story isn't unique. That's what makes it terrifying. It's happening to thousands silently all around us. And if you're listening to this thinking, this could never happen to me, let me tell you something uncomfortable. God forbid, but it absolutely can. It's not about how skilled you are or how dedicated. Sometimes you are just a number in a boardroom conversation. And once that decision is made, you are no longer part of the picture. So what can we do? Honestly, I don't have an answer. But I do think that we need to talk more, share more, support each other without judgment. If you know someone who's been laid off, don't just send him a job link and move on. Sit with them, listen, remind them they are not alone. And if you are someone who's going through this right now, if you feel like your world is falling apart, I want you to know that your pain is valid. You are not weak. You are not a failure. You are just caught in a system that doesn't know how to value people beyond what they produce. You don't have to pretend to be okay. You don't have to package your struggle into an inspirational post. You are allowed to just feel it. And that's what Get Real JB is about. Not solutions, not speeches, just stories like Raghav's and reflections like this that remind us that beneath the numbers, beneath the layoffs and the headlines are real people with real lives. So let's stop pretending that every setback is a setup for comeback. Let's just leave this toxic sentiment behind. Sometimes it's just a setback and sometimes that's enough. Thank you for listening. If you want to share your own story or talk to me about anything, please do reach out. I'd love to hear from you. With that, I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, keep it real.